What's going on, everybody? This is another episode of the Sports Binge with your host, Will Cotchery. Hope all is well wherever you are, and I hope you guys been doing all right this summer so far, enjoying this NFL offseason. Well, you got to use enjoy to, like, with a grain of salt because it's not real football going on. But I hope you guys are making do without regular season ball as of today. So right now, I just want to introduce a new series that I'm doing throughout the course of the next several weeks. It's going to be me ranking the greatest teams in each of the NFL divisions all time. Now, when I say all time, I'm specifically only including or considering the teams from 2002 onward to the present day, and that's so important because in 2002, that's when the NFL realigned the divisions to include the Houston Texans. So instead of like the old formats from the past, we now have 8 divisions with 4 teams in each because of their inclusion during their expansion 2002 season for the Texans. So I just wanted to throw that caveat out there as well. We're only considering teams, all the teams for each division from 2002 all the way up to the current day. Now, just another disclaimer: this is not I didn't use any specific or analytical algorithm to make these lists up. So it's just a top 10 teams from each division history. It's not no specific analytical data that I'm using. I'm just going off mainly just team record for that win-loss record for the regular season, and just going through like the division records and this other disclaimers from there. Because a lot of it is really just close knit. It's close knit and just splitting hairs because there's so many similar win-loss records for all the teams. So if you just stand out in any particular way, if you represented the NFC or the AFC in the conference championship, especially going to the Super Bowl, let alone winning it, those tend to get a lot of weight as well. So just like I said, it's just a lot of these teams are what and what. So just want to throw that out there as well. So don't get too emotional. It's just really just something pass the time. This really the interesting topic that I came up with. So without further ado, here are the top 10 teams for each division's history series. At number 10, we have the 2017 Jacksonville Jaguars. They finished the regular season 10-6, including 4-2 in divisional play, and they lost to the New England Patriots in the AFC Championship game during the 2017 season. This was the franchise's first time being in the playoffs in 10 seasons. It was also the franchise's third time to ever appear in a conference championship game, with their first time coming back in the 1999 season. Only making the playoffs 3 times during the realignment, Jacksonville hasn't enjoyed much success as a franchise during this stretch of time. Now, during the mid-2000s, they were really good with Jack Del Rio at the helm, guys like Rasheed Mathis on defense. You have Brian Leftwich and David Garrard as quarterbacks at different times. Then you had Fred Taylor, the franchise's greatest rusher. And you just had like several pieces around, Freddie Cousins. They had a lot of quality pieces on defense. That was really their biggest aid during that time. Of course, Maurice Jones-Drew ended up becoming the bell cow for the franchise later on, including Jimmy Smith on the outside, franchise's top receiver. And then outside of that, for the following 10 years, they just were non-existent. And a lot of it had to do with just subpar quarterback play, from whether it was from Blaine Gabbert and Chad Henne, Blake Bortles eventually. Yeah, that's what really set the franchise back. Defense wasn't much better, of course, but that was the biggest concern with the team, was the lack of quality and productive quarterback play. Coming back to the 2017 season, the team started off 4-3. They were kind of teetering around 500 going into that bye week. But from week 9 onward, that season they finished the year 6-3 thanks to their elite defense, second-rate defense in the league. Headlined by Pro Bowl and first-team All-Pro cornerback Jalen Ramsey, Pro Bowl and first-team All-Pro Calais Campbell on the defensive line. They had no weakness on the defense. Telvin Smith, Miles Jack at linebacker. They had Malik Jackson and Yannick Ngakoue on the defensive line. And Paul Posluszny was still quietly producing at a respectable level. Deshaun Gibson was a quality pickup in the offseason, and they got him a while back. Barry Church was still productive even at age 29. They were still a very close-knit team on defense, very talented team. Really had a lot of swag, especially from Jalen Ramsey. But as a cornerback, you got to, especially at the elite level, you have to have that type of edge to you anyway. But once again, going back to the quarterback play, as I mentioned before, Blake Bortles, it was ultimately up to him. Now, to be fair, the offense, I don't think a lot of people realize it, but in 2017, the offense finished 5th in scoring offense and 6th in total offense. A lot of people don't really realize that. But then again, you could say a lot had to do with Leonard Fournette just carrying the bell cow as a rookie out of LSU. And he was really just, holding the offense down. Ultimately, it come down to Blake Bortles not making the key and necessary plays that were needed. And they could have, if they would have made the Super Bowl, they would probably been a little higher. But 10-6 is not the strongest record, especially in this division that had a lot of quality teams with 13 wins plus, 12 wins plus. Number 9, we have the 2003 Tennessee Titans. The team finished 12-4 for the regular season and 4-2 in AFC South play. They ended up losing the divisional round, second round playoff game against the New England Patriots, who eventually became Super Bowl champions for the second time in 3 seasons. The team placed 5th in scoring offense that year, and defensively they were 13th out of 32 teams, so they were still top of the half. They were really pretty well-rounded for that season. Steve McNair at the quarterback position had another solid year, completing 62% of his passes for 3,215 yards, 24 scores, and only 7 interceptions. Even with 100, just slightly over 100 passer rating. And Eddie George, even at 30 years old, he was still a highly productive player with just over 1,000 yards and 312 attempts for 5 touchdowns, averaging almost 64 and a half yards per game that season. And the thing about him, he was no longer in his physical peak, and his really his career peak as he was in the early in the 2000s, but he was still a reliable every down player. Derek Mason was the team's main receiving target with 95 catches for 1,303 yards and 8 scores. And the defense was led by a prime veteran Keith Bullock, who not only made the Pro Bowl, but he made first team All-Pro thanks to his 103 tackles and 3 sacks, 6 pass deflections, and 5 forced fumbles and 2 interceptions. He was all over the field that year. And one of the fascinating things about Tennessee as a franchise, especially in the last 20 plus years or so, they just never really made a tremendous amount of noise. It was one of those teams that always snuck up on you. You never really talk about them just that much outside of a couple of years, great years that they had. Now, a lot of it has to do with being, playing in the same division as Peyton Manning and the Colts, but they just haven't had like the greatest amount of consistent success that you would want to see from a franchise. But nonetheless, 12-4, 4-2 division play, lost to the eventual champions of the league, so you can't complain much about that. Number 8, we have the 2008 Tennessee Titans. Contrary to the 2003 squad, the 2018 was headlined by their defense. Vince Young was productive, but the offense finished 14th at 21 and points average and yards average per game. So they were just really middle of the road that season, but the defense was top 7 in both points allowed and yards allowed. The team in the 16-game season, they only allowed more than 20 points 3 times in that season. They were lights out, and they were really lights out in that year. The defense had playmakers at each level of the field. At defensive line, they had Albert Hainsworth, a 27-year-old defensive tackle who had 8.5 sacks to make Pro Bowl and first-team All-Pro honors. Cortland Finnegan, as a 24-year-old, had 5 interceptions at the cornerback position, had 100 interception return yards in the score that year. And the team also boasted the safety tandem of Chris Hope and Michael Griffin. They really had it all figured out defensively that year, especially when the offense was not at its peak self as it was 5 years prior. Now, although veterans Keith Bullock and Kyle Benavosh wasn't their usual Pro Bowl selves, but they still were respectable pros at that stage of their careers. Unfortunately for the team, they lost in the division round at home to the Baltimore Ravens, who end up playing in the AFC Championship game against their arch rival Steelers. But this was a very highly productive team, especially at Chris Johnson, or before he was CJ2K. He was really made the Pro Bowl as a rookie, like at the early stage of his career. He was a rookie at that time, actually. Yeah, rookie. And until that was in the year after, of course, became CJ 2K and became a superstar in the league, arguably the best running back in the game, rivaling Adrian Peterson of the Minnesota Vikings. But this team looked like it was on a roll that season going forward, but of course it didn't happen that way in 2009 and a rough year. But this team was a really good squad. Next up at number 7, we have the 2012 Houston Texans. The team went 12-4 in the regular season, including 5-1 in AFC South play. This was far and away the greatest team in the history of the franchise to this day. They're just picking up where they left off a year ago, the year prior in 2011, when they went 10-6 and made the playoffs for the first time in franchise history, only to lose in the divisional round the following week to the Baltimore Ravens after beating the Cincinnati Bengals in the wild card. The team was a top 10 unit in both offense and defense. It was real well-rounded. Probably one of the most well-rounded teams on this whole list, quite honestly. Now, the team's defense was slightly worse than it was in 2011, but they were still highly productive, hence they were being top 10. And their offense was greatly improved as well in that season in 2012. With the usual stars, Matt Schaub at quarterback, Aaron Foster, all-pro running back, and Andre Johnson, the team's greatest player, they was still set offensively. J.J. Watt in the second season was an unbelievable player. Ended up winning Defensive Player of the Year for that season. Won his first of 3, by the way. So the team started 11-1, and going into the Monday Night Football game against the Patriots, I remember they had the Letterman jackets, and they had this was the biggest game in franchise history. They didn't show up. New England tore them up 42-14. And I wouldn't say they spiraled out of control, but they dropped 2 of the last 3, including 2 straight to end the season. So they quickly rebounded in the playoffs. 19-13 victory over the Bengals yet again in the playoffs, second straight year, before losing to the Patriots again 41-28. At least they showed up in the playoffs, but of course loss is a loss. So still all in all, this is the greatest team in franchise history, well-rounded in all facets. Patriots was just in the way. Patriots were just in the way. Number 6 are the 2007 Indianapolis Colts. Now, you'll see in a little bit that you already know this is a Colts division. So, we're just going to run through these teams. It's all the same. I'm just full disclosure. It's all the same. The 2017 was 13-3, including 5-1 in the divisional play. Just on paper, even with a franchise that had 2 14-2 campaigns in the realignment era, on paper, the 017 is the greatest team for the Colts in this time frame since 2002 with the 13-3 record, despite losing in the divisional round to the San Diego Chargers. San Diego really had this franchise's number in the mid-2000s, and you can see through the playoff losses. But like I said, on paper you can make an argument this is the best Colts team in the realignment era. But of course, the following Colts teams that are going to be on this list, they have a slightly better case. At number 5, cracking the top 5 is the 2005 Colts, 14-2 and 6-0 in divisional play. This season is the perfect example. It's the epitome of preseason does not matter. One of my best friends, he's a Colts fan. He never really valued the preseason. He said it wasn't a big deal to him about the win-loss record. Some people make preseason a big deal, like, oh, well, you got to set the tone for the season. But in 2005, Colts went 0-5 in the preseason, started the year 13-0. Now, like the 07 squad, the 05 team had a better chance of, being on paper the best on-paper team in Colts history as far as the realignment era is concerned. Unfortunately for this squad, despite being 14-2, they lost to the eventual Super Bowl champion Steelers thanks to a Mike Vanderchak missed field goal. Now, the biggest play was Jerome Bettis fumbling, and Indianapolis picked it up. It was a game-saving tackle by Big Ben made the tackle. So they could have won the game, but nonetheless, had another tough, gut-wrenching playoff defeat. At the 4th spot, we have the 2006 Indianapolis Colts with a 12-4 record and 500 play against the AFC South. Offensively, they were still superb, ranking 2nd and 3rd in points average and yards average, respectively. Defensively, they weren't that special, ranking 23rd 21st in those respective categories. Really, one of the biggest headlines for that team that season was their poor rush defense during the regular season. Remember, MJD destroyed the team over 200 yards, and Jaguars crushed the Colts that day. But of course, the Colts tightened up in the playoffs and ended up going to the Super Bowl thanks to Marlon Jackson's interception in the AFC title game, the biggest play in the history of the franchise, in my opinion, at least in my lifetime is concerned. And they end up closing the deal against the Bears, aggressive defense. Sealed the deal by Kelvin Hagen, pick six, to win the game 29-17. So without that Super Bowl, this team probably honestly would have been a little lower on the list, but that carried weight, especially in the Peyton Manning era, to get his first NFL championship. At number 3, we have the 2004 Colts, 12-4 in the regular season, 5-1 divisional play. This was like their offensive juggernaut season, with Peyton Manning setting the regular season touchdown record to 49, previously set by Dan Marino back in the 80s. The 522 points the team scored is the most in franchise history, thanks to another MVP performance throughout the season by Peyton Manning to win the second MVP crown. And this season was the first time since 1976 where the Colts are ranked number 1 in the league in scoring offense. So even with Peyton Manning's dominance, that hasn't happened. Like when that happened, it's been a long time, almost 30 years to that point, 28 to be exact. And so that's how it shows you how dominant they were during that stretch of the Peyton Manning era. Second place, we have the 2003 Colts. Likewise, with the 2004 squad, they both finished 12-4 and 5-1 with the regular season record and division record. Now, unlike the 04 team, who only maxed out at the divisional round, the 03 squad ended up going to the conference title game, where they lost to the eventual Super Bowl champions, New England Patriots, just like the 04 squad. Both of these teams really, they could have been number 1. They could have been 1-2, however you want to put it, if it wasn't for the Patriots. That's the greatest of that franchise with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. Last to round up this top 10 list is the 2009 Indianapolis Colts. Yeah, I'm a broken record, but hey, it's their division. 14-2, undefeated in divisional play. Could have had the chance to go 16-0, quite honestly, but they decided to pack it in toward the end of the season by resting Peyton Manning. There was a lot of, controversy. A lot of fans really disapproved of that decision. My thing is, what do you gain when you have the top seed in your conference wrapped up? Yeah, I mean, to me, that I don't say the regular season meetings, but I mean, you already got what you wanted. I would say rest your best player, because your greatest player, your best player gives you the best chance to win. And I was good, and it's good for them that they were healthy, because they ended up making the Super Bowl. Now, they did lose to the Saints, but they really had everything in front of them. And I don't blame the franchise for benching Peyton Manning ultimately to the rest of the season. I mean that undefeated season. I mean, it's just that doesn't really mean much to me, because the Patriots did it in 2007 and didn't win the Super Bowl. Like the goal was to win the title. Like, I mean, this is just me. I'm just not really too heavy on that. We got to go undefeated. I mean, it's great if it happens, but I mean, it's not that big a deal to me. So that's my list. So I know everybody's gonna have their different opinions, and I was like, why you didn't put this team on it? But just that's what the comment section's for. That's what the likes for. That's what the subscription's for. You can tell me all what you need to tell me on my YouTube channel. I'm just really eager to see what you guys have to hear. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to all my YouTube videos and my YouTube channel. You guys have a blessed day, and I'll see you in the next video.